7 topics, 7 questions. Let's go. ABFH is a parallelogram. BCDEFG is a regular hexagon. Find X. Whenever we have regular polygons, the first thing that you should be thinking about is the internal angle as well as the external angle. That information is immediately available to us. We can calculate it straight away. So we see the hexagon has 6 sides. So let's look at the internal angle. Now the internal angle that we are interested in is this one, because this is part of an isosceles triangle. Since BG and GH are sides of the hexagon, they are the same length. So let's find this internal angle first. Internal angle will be equals to 180 times n minus 2 divided by n. N represents the number of sides of the regular polygon. So since this is a hexagon, n is equals to 6. Now we can just substitute inside and find the angle. So this will be equals to 180 times 6 minus 2 over 6, and this will give us 120. So this is 120 degrees. Since this angle is 120 degrees and we have an isosceles triangle, this is another thing that we need to look for whenever we have regular polygons and you have a triangle. You have to realize that it is an isosceles triangle. If two sides are the same, this also means that these angles are the same. For an isosceles triangle, the two angles are the same. So we can find this angle by using 180 minus this angle here, which is 120, we just found it, 120 divided by 2. So this will give us 30 degrees. Don't forget that this is also 30 degrees. Since we have the information that ABFH is a parallelogram, now we can use the concept of parallelogram. In parallelograms, this angle X and 30 degrees must sum up to be 180. So using that concept, we have X plus 30 is equals to 180, and therefore X will be equals to 180 minus 30, which is 150. So this is the bit about polygons. Let's move on to circles. Let's look at this question. KON is a straight line. Never assume it is a straight line unless it's stated in the question. LMN is a tangent. So this is our keyword here. We have a tangent to the circle with center O at M, the tangent at M. The moment we see tangent to the circle, the first thing that we should do is mark the right angle. The right angle for a tangent will be between the tangent and the radius touching the tangent. So the radius touching the tangent is OM. Now, immediately we know this is 90 degrees as well as this. Between the tangent and the radius touching the tangent, the angle will be 90 degrees. Once we've got that, we can start to solve. In order to find y, we need to find this angle. If we can find this angle, since we know the sum is 90 degrees, then we can just subtract and find y. So how to find that angle? Again, we need to recognize when there are isosceles triangles. This is very useful. So we have this and this is the same length since they are both the radius of the circle. So we have an isosceles triangle here. There are two triangles that we are going to use to solve this. The first one is this, OMN. So if you notice, we have a right angle triangle here, which means we can find this angle. This angle will simply be, let's call it P. P will simply be 90 minus 38. Since it is a right angle triangle, this side is already 90 degrees, and therefore P is 90 minus 38, and this is 52. So once we've got the angle P, then we can find this. Let's call it Q. Since KON is a straight line, Q will be equals to 180 minus P, which is 52. Here we have 28. Now Q is 28. Now we can find, let's call this R. So again, using the concept of isosceles triangle, R will simply be 180 minus 28 divided by 2. And this will give us 26. Now that we have the angle, we can find Y. Again, we are using the concept of the right angle. So 90 degrees minus R will give us Y. Y is equals to 90 minus 26, which is equals to 64. Here we've already found the value of Y. Next, let's go to inequalities. State the 3 inequalities that represent the shaded region. So here we are going to come up with 3 inequalities to represent this shaded region, the pink shaded region. Before we can come up with the inequalities, we first need to determine the boundaries of the shaded region. And that is by finding the equations of the line that keeps the shaded region in place. So first, let's look at the horizontal line. Whenever we have a horizontal line, the equation of the line is always y equals to something. When we have a vertical line, it will be x equals to something. So let's look at this horizontal line first, the dotted line. Since this line is passing through 1 on the y-axis, the equation for the line is simply y is equals to 1. Now we have another line, a vertical line, this side, this boundary. On this boundary we have a vertical line. So the vertical line is passing through the origin. When the vertical line passes through the origin, the equation of this line is x is equals to 0. Now we need to find the slanted line. What is the equation for this line? So here we need to use a bit of equation of a straight line. If you are not sure about equation of a straight line, I have a video on that. I will link it in the description. So here we have 2 points. Let's label the points first. This is 0, 6, and this point here is 4, 0. Basically, we have the x-intercept and the y-intercept. When you have the x and y-intercept, there are many ways that you can find the equation of the straight line. I want my left side to be y minus 0. So I'm going to choose this as x1 and y1. And I'm going to choose this as x2, y2. It actually doesn't matter which is which. So when we do it this way, we get y minus 0. This is what I want, because I want y in terms of x. So y minus 0 over x minus 4 will be equals to, y2 is 6. So 6 minus 0 over 0 minus 4. When we go on to simplify this, we will get y is equals to 6 over negative 4 multiplied by x minus 4. So all I'm doing is I'm multiplying the whole equation with this. That's all I'm doing. So now when we simplify this further, we get y is equals to negative 3 over 2x. Now I'm just expanding the brackets, plus 6. So now that we have our 3 boundaries, so this equation is equals to, this equation is y is equals to negative 3 over 2x plus 6. Now that we have all our boundaries, we can start using the inequalities. So the inequalities will depend on whether it is below or above, and for the horizontal line, whether it's on the right or the left. So let's look at our slanted line first. Let's look at this equation. Look at this one. So with respect to this line, the shaded region is under the line, below the line. Therefore, the inequality that we would get is y is less than or equals to negative 3 over 2x plus 6. Now, we add the less than or equals to when it is a solid line as opposed to a dotted line. So let's look at the dotted line now. So this line is y is equals to 1, but the position of the shaded region is above the line. And so this would become y is more than 1. Now this time it's just more than 1 because it is a dotted line. Then the third boundary is the line x equals to 0. So when we are looking at x equals to 0, the shaded region is towards the right. So this will become x is more than or equals to 0. So these are the three inequalities that represent this shaded region. Let's go on to arcs and sectors. Sector OPS and OQR have the same center O. OPS is an equilateral triangle. This is very important. The moment we see equilateral triangle, we can label on the diagram these three sides are the same length. Then we have OR is 25. So OR, let's label that as well. OR is 25 centimeters. And the ratio of OS to OR is 3 to 2. So the ratio is 3 to 2. My students often get confused. This is a ratio. This is not the actual length. This is just a ratio of the length. We need to find the length later using the ratio. The first question is to find the perimeter of the shaded region. So let's find the perimeter. Remember, the perimeter is the outer fencing of the shaded region. So let's look at what we need to find. First, let's find OS. OS is part of the perimeter. OS is 3 parts out of 5 parts of OR. Therefore, OS, let's do A, OS is equals to 3/5 of 25. Because the ratio is 3 to 2, OR has 5 parts. And so OS is 3 parts out of 5 parts. And this will give us, this is 5, and so this is 15 centimeters. So once we have OS, we also have OP, this one here. We have OP and PS as well, because it's an equilateral triangle. So let's just label that. So now we have, this is 15, this is 15 centimeters, total OS, and this is 15 as well, and this is also 15 centimeters. Alright, so now let's find SR here. Now, SR is just 25 minus OS. We don't have to use the ratio anymore. So SR is equals to 25 minus 15. So this will be equals to 10 centimeters. So now we have SR is 10 centimeters. Since we know SR, we know PQ as well, because again, they are the same length. So this is 10 centimeters as well. Both OQ and OR are the radius of the sector OQR, and so they have the same length. So we have 10 centimeter and 10 centimeter. Now we need to find the lengths of arcs. So let's find arc QR first. Let's find the length of this arc. So for the length of arc, let's go through the formula first. Arc length will be equals to the angle of the sector divided by 360 multiplied by the circumference, which is 2 pi r. So let's just apply this here. So once again, we have to use the fact that this is an equilateral triangle. If it is an equilateral triangle, then all the angles, all the internal angles will be 60 degrees. So we have 60 degrees here as well. This is what we substitute inside the formula. So now we are looking for arc QR. Arc QR is equals to 60 over 360 multiplied by 2 pi. Now the value of r here is OQ or OR, the whole thing, which is 25. So this is 25. So when we simplify this, we will get 25 over 3 pi. I'm leaving my answers in terms of pi first because this is not the final answer. I will substitute the value of pi at the end. So now we have arc QR. The final thing that we need to find is arc PS, so this major arc here, arc PS. What is the angle of this sector? This angle is simply 360 minus 60, which is 300 degrees. So once we have this angle, we can use the same formula. So arc PS will be equals to 300 over 360 multiplied by 2 pi r. Now we have to be careful because this arc does not have the same radius. For this arc, the radius is just 15. So this will be times 15. Now again, when we simplify this, we will get 25 pi. Again, I'm going to leave my answers in terms of pi until the very end. So now we are ready to find the perimeter of this shaded region. Let's put it all together. Perimeter is equals to, let's start at P. It's useful to start at a point so that we don't miss anything. So first we have PQ, which is 10. So 10 plus QR. So QR we've already found to be 25 over 3 pi. 25 over 3 pi. And then we have RS. RS is 10 plus 10. And then we have SP. SP here is 15 plus 15. Then let's go to the other shaded region. So we have OP, which is 15 as well. So plus 15. Now we are talking about this one, OP here. And then we have PS, the big arc. The big arc is PS we found to be 25 pi. So plus 25 pi. And then we have another one here, which is 15. This is OS. So plus another 15. Plus 15. So this will give us 65 plus 100 over 3 pi. Depending on what the question requires, you could use pi is equal to 3.142 or pi is approximately 22 over 7. So I'm going to use 22 over 7 for this question. So this will be equals to 65 plus 100 over 3 multiplied by 22 over 7. And punch this in your calculator, the answer you will get is 169.76 centimeters. So we have found the perimeter of the shaded region. Now it's time to find, second question is to find the area. Now it's to find the area of the shaded region. So when we are looking at area, here we are dealing with sectors as well as a triangle. So you have to look at it in that way. We have to get the area of the major sector. So the shaded region here, this region is just the major sector, the area of the major sector. But on this side, this region, the one in blue, will be the area of this sector, the large sector here, minus the area of the triangle. That's the only way we can get that area. So let's do exactly that. Let's do the easier one first. Let's find the area of the major sector. Let's go to the formula first. Area of sector will be equals to, again, the angle of the sector divided by 360 multiplied by, this time is the area of a circle, so pi r square. Pi r square. Now let's try this. So the area of sector OPS, area of sector OPS, we already have all our angles. So for OPS, the angle is 300 here, as we found earlier. So this will be 300 over 360 multiplied by pi r square. So again, we have to be careful which r we choose. Since we are looking at the major sector, we are looking at 15 again. So this is 15 square. Now simplify this, we will get 375 over 2 pi. Once again, I'm going to leave pi until the very end. So the area of sector OPS is 375 over 2 pi. Now we need to find the area of the blue shaded region. So first, let's find the area of sector OQR. We use the same formula, area of sector. This will be equals to 60 over 360 multiplied by pi. Now this time the value of R is 25. Again, this is 25 square. So put this in your calculator, you will get 625 over 6 pi. So now we have both sectors. When we add the area of both sectors, we still need to subtract the area of the triangle. This is an equilateral triangle, so we need to use half base height, half times base times perpendicular height to find the area of the triangle. So what is this height? Now let's focus on this triangle. I'm going to draw this triangle separately. This is our equilateral triangle that we have. We already know that this is 15, this is 15, and the bottom is 15 as well. But now we need to find the perpendicular height. So since this is an equilateral triangle, we can do this. We know that the length will be divided into exactly 2 because it's an equilateral triangle. So this is 7.5 and this is 7.5. Now we know the base is 15. Now we got to find the height. So when you want to find the height, we need to treat it as 2 right angle triangles. Whenever we have right angle triangle, we can use Pythagoras theorem. So now we can find the height. The height will simply be square root of 15 square, which is the hypotenuse, minus 7.5 square. So we are simply applying Pythagoras theorem here. Remember Pythagoras theorem, a square plus b square equals to c square. Now c is the hypotenuse, this is 15, and this and b, either a or b, it doesn't matter. So we just rearrange. A will be equals to square root of c square minus b square. That's exactly what we are doing here. Alright, now that we have the height, we can find the area of the triangle. So area of the triangle, is equals to triangle OPS is equals to 1 over 2 times base, which is 15, times perpendicular height, which is square root of 15 square minus 7.5 square. This will be equals to 97.428. Now we have the area of the triangle. Now we are ready to find the area of the shaded region. So the area of the shaded region will simply be, we need to sum up the area of both sectors and subtract the area of the triangle. So this will be 375 over 2 pi plus 625 over 6 pi minus the area of the triangle that we just found, 97.428. Again, now we can substitute the value of pi inside. So 375 over 2, 22 over 7 plus 625 over 6, 22 over 7 minus 97.428. The answer we will get is 819.24 centimeter square. This is how we find the area of the shaded region. Next is equation of the straight line. So let's look at this question. AB is parallel to CD. This is important. The moment you see two lines are parallel, the first thing that you should think is that the gradient is the same. If two lines are parallel, then they have the same gradient. So M is the same. Find the coordinates of C. C is here. Now you will notice immediately that C is a y-intercept. Whenever we have y-intercept, the x-coordinate of a y-intercept is 0, and this is the information that we are going to use. We have been given the equation of the line here, line CD, so we can use this equation to find our answer. So for A, for the y-intercept, x equals to 0. When x equals to 0, then we have 4y plus 12 is equals to 3 times 0. We are simply using back this formula here. So what we get is y will be equals to negative 3. Now that we found the y coordinate, don't forget to put them together. So we have to write a statement. Therefore, C is 0, negative 3. So these are the coordinates for C. Now let's look at question B. Find the equation. Now we're going to find the equation of the straight line AB. So we have AB. When we want to find the equation of a straight line, we need two pieces of information. Either 2 points or 1 point and the gradient. So now we have to make use of the fact that the gradients are the same since they are parallel. So first let's look for the gradient of CD. And the easiest way to do this is simply to rearrange this equation into the gradient intercept form. So let's do that. So let's start with 4y plus 12 is equals to 3x. Now all I want to do is rearrange this. So we will get 4y is equals to 3x minus 12. Divide the whole equation by 4, we get y is equals to 3 over 4x minus 3. So now we have the gradient. This is the gradient. Remember the gradient intercept form, y is equals to mx plus c. So m is the gradient, m is 3 over 4. Now we found the gradient of CD. Now take note, we could have done this earlier to find the y-intercept as well. There are many ways of doing it. So the y-intercept is negative 3. Now when we want to use the gradient here, let's write that down. For B we have MCD is equals to 3 over 4. Now we are not interested in the gradient of CD. What we actually want is the gradient of AB, which is the same as CD. So gradient of AB is equals to the gradient of CD, which is 3 over 4. Now that we have the gradient, we need to find one point in the graph. So we have one point in the graph, and that is the origin. If you notice, this line passes through the origin. So when a line passes through the origin, the y-intercept is 0. So the equation of our line is simply, therefore, the equation of line AB is simply y is equals to 3 over 4x. C is 0. This is the equation of a line. Let's look at question C. State the equation of line AC. So this is line AC. The blue line is line AC. So again we have a horizontal line. When we have a horizontal line, the equation of the line is always y equals to, and then you look for the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is C. Earlier we already found this to be negative 3. So now we know the equation of line AC. Equation of line AC is y is equals to negative 3. That's all. Let's move on to matrices. A buys 20 pens and 30 pencils for 145 ringgit. B buys 30 pens and 10 pencils for 165 ringgit. Using the matrix method, calculate the price of a pen and the price of a pencil. So when we have questions like this, we have to define our unknowns first. It's very easy to define the unknowns. So let's say, let x be equals to price of a pen. It's as simple as that. It's a simple but important step to ensure that your working is very clear. Then let's make y, let y equals to price of a pencil. Now that we've defined our unknowns, we can write our equations. So you notice that we will have two equations here. 20 pens, remember pens are x, so 20x and 30 pencils, 30y, will cost 145 ringgit. Now how do we write this down? 20x plus 30y is equals to 145. This is the first equation that we can get out of the question. Now let's look at the second one. 30 pens and 10 pencils is 165 ringgit. So again, 30x plus 10y will be equals to 165. Now we need to convert this into the matrix form. So how do we do that? So first you make sure they are all aligned. The x terms are aligned, the y terms are aligned. Then we can simply form our matrix, 2 by 2 matrix, 20, 30, just follow the numbers as they are, 20, 30, 30 and 10. And then here we have the first unknown and then the second unknown. So we have x and then y is equals to 145, 165. So this is a 2 by 1 matrix. Now we've converted it into the matrix form. So how are we going to get rid of this? We have to use inverse matrix. So now we have to find the inverse matrix. Again, let's make our working very clear. Let A equals to 20, 30, 30 and 10. And now we can find A inverse. So A inverse, first let's go through the formula. The formula for inverse matrix will be equals to 1 over AD minus BC multiplied into DA minus B minus C. Let's apply the formula here. Now, you have to note that the original position, this is A, B, C and D. This is the original position when you apply the formula. So let's apply the formula. This is equals to 1 over AD is A times D. So that will be 20 times 10. 20 times 10 minus B times C. So this is 30 times 30. Then we have to do DA. So what we are doing is we are actually swapping these places of the 20 and the 10. So we will get 10 and 20. And B and C, all we are doing is adding negative to it. So we have 30 and 30, which will become negative 30 and negative 30. So this is the inverse of the 2 by 2 matrix that we have here. What is remaining here is xy. What we actually have is A times A inverse times xy. This is equals to identity matrix. And when you have identity multiplied by xy, it is still xy. So you don't have to show all this is done. So this is equals to, now when we multiply by inverse matrix, you have to multiply on both sides. So we put the inverse matrix in front. This is very important, it has to be in front. So this will be equals to 1 over 20 times 10 minus 30 times 30 into 10 minus 30 minus 30 and 20. Now don't forget we have 145 and 165 on the other side. Now it's all a matter of simplification. So let's simplify this. We will get 1 over negative 700 multiplied by 10, negative 30, negative 30, 20, and then we have 145 and 165. Now all we have to do is multiply this into the matrix. So you have to multiply into each term inside the matrix. So we will get this is equals to negative 1 over 70, 3 over 70, 3 over 70 and negative 2 over 70 multiplied by 145 and 165. Now we have to perform matrix multiplication, matrix multiplied by matrix. If you're not sure about this, I have a video on it. I'll leave the link in the description as well, you can check it out. So what we have to do first, this is equals to, so we take negative 1 over 70, times 145. So the first term here will be negative 1 over 70 times 145. So this plus, we have to do the same thing, 3 over 70 multiplied by 165. So this is 3 over 70 times 165. Remember, this is still the same term. This is still the first term. Now the second term, we have to look at the second row. So 3 over 70 times 145, 3 over 70 times 145, plus we have negative 2 over 70 times 165. So negative 2 over 70 multiplied by 165. Now, when we put this into the calculator, what you will get is 5 and 1.5. So now remember, this is xy. xy is equals to 5 and 1.5. So this is not the n. X is 5 and y is 1.5. So we need to write a short statement here. Therefore, price of pen is 5 ringgit and price of pencil is 1 ringgit and 50 cents. This is how we use the matrix method. Now let's go into probability. Let's look at this question. Box A has 4 cards, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Box B has 3 cards, X, Y and Z. One card is randomly taken out of box A, then another card is randomly taken out from box B. So we have two separate events going on here. We have the event of the card being drawn from box A and the card being drawn from box B. So we have a combined event. List all the possible combinations of numbers and letters drawn out of the two boxes A. So when we are doing this, it's very helpful to use a simple table so that you don't miss out anything. So from box A we have 1, 2, 3 and 4, and from box B we have X, Y and Z. Now when we write it like this, it's very easy to see the combined event outcomes. Here we have 1x and then 2x, 3x and 4x and so on. So you can continue with the others as well. So we leave this aside. Now when the question asks us to list all the possible combinations, we should write it in set notation. So we write the sample space S is equals to, since we are using set notation, we need to use our curly bracket. So this is equals to, now all you have to do is list all this down. So this is 1x, comma, and then you go on and list everything else. So this is what it should look like. Your sample space is equals to all 12 outcomes. Now again, another way to check how many outcomes you should have. Look at the number of outcomes in the first event. We have 4 outcomes in the first event and we have 3 outcomes in the second event. The total number of outcomes of the combined event should be 4 times 3, which is 12, which is what we have here. Now let's answer the next question. By listing all the possible outcomes of the event, so this is very important, we need to list all the possible outcomes. Find the probability that an even number is chosen. So out of all this, when we are looking for even number, we only have 2 and 4. So there's no other criteria here other than an even number is chosen, which means all of this will qualify because it has 2 in it, and all of this will qualify because it has 4 in it. So let's do that. B1. So first we want to list the outcomes. So the outcome is even number chosen. This is our outcome. So let's write it down. Even number chosen. Then again we write in set notation. So we have all of these 6 outcomes. We just have to list it out. So that will be 2x and 4z. Now we've listed all our outcomes. So let's find the probability. The question is to find the probability, not just to list the outcomes. So the probability of even number chosen probability of this event happening is equals to, count the number of outcomes we have here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 outcomes here. So this is 6 out of the total number of outcomes, which is 12. This is the total number of outcomes. Therefore, the probability of choosing an even number is 1 out of 2. Now let's look at the second question. So the second one is, find the probability that a prime number and x are chosen. So when we are looking for prime number and x, the only two prime numbers here are 2 and 3. These are our prime numbers, and they must have x as well, and x, so it must include both. If it is or, then it can have either one to qualify. But here, when it is and, it must have both. The only two with both the prime number and x is 2x and 3x. So let's list that down first. Again, we use curly bracket, 2x and 3x. So here we only have two outcomes. Now the probability of this happening, the probability of choosing both, is just 2 out of 12, which is 1 out of 6. If you've learned something, guys, please hit the like button. Please do hit the like button to support me. And if you want to watch more videos like this, please subscribe. I'll be producing at least one video a week. If you're watching this, you're probably having exams soon. So all the best to you, and see you in the next video.